Do you know how to set goals? What about how to set goals and achieve them? Could you use some goal setting tips? Well, stay right there because in this video, I'm going to give you my best goal setting ideas and my best goal setting tips to get you on your way to smarter goal setting. This is a goal setting series, and today we're wrapping up with our final part. So let's get to it. So hey there, welcome back. I'm Alicia from Alicia Cohen Designs, where I teach you intentional planning and productivity solutions. If you're new around here, would you please do me a big favor and hit that subscribe button? It means a lot to me, helps support my channel, and it's just really nice to know that I have supporters out there. So please give that subscribe button a tap. And now let's get to our topic. Okay, so time for part 4 of this 4-part series about goal setting. And if you've been watching this series so far, then you know that we're not talking about just goal setting, but how to set goals and actually achieve them. You've heard me say in the previous parts of this goal setting series that what we want to do here is to take a look at setting smarter goals. And I'm not talking about SMART goals here, though we did cover that last time in part 3, which I'll link to over there in the cards. So we want to take a look at setting smarter goals and just being smarter about how we approach goal setting to be able to be as effective as possible, to get the most mileage out of our effort. I believe that the best way to achieve goals and be smart about this process is through a number of key strategies. In this series, so far, we've covered 6 of the 8 strategies that I have for you, and today we're covering the final 2 strategies. I know I just linked part 3 in the cards for you, and if you didn't already check out parts 1 and 2 from this series, I'll link them over in the cards for you now as well. So be sure to check out all the previous parts of this series if you haven't already, especially part 1, because I'm going to briefly recap some of what we covered in part 1, but this video will make more sense if you have the full story from parts 1 and parts 2 and 3. Okay. We'll follow the same format as in parts 1 through 3, but with some new information today. So as in the previous parts of this series, here's the plan for today's video. We'll briefly talk about why set goals. Then we'll go over some of the basic types of goal setting, the essential step 0 to really help goal setting work, and then we'll tackle 2 of my recommended best goal setting strategies, the final 2. So let's take a look at our final 2 reasons for answering the question, why set goals? As in the other parts, I have a couple of quotes for us again today to educate us and inspire us in the importance of goal setting. So let's take a look now. A goal without a timeline is just a dream, and that was said by Robert Herjavec. I like this quote for answering our why set goals question because it's not only implying that goal setting is important, but what he's saying here also really gets us the importance of being strategic in how we set our goals, which he's highlighting here and talking about having a timeline incorporated as part of the goal setting, because otherwise we just aren't going to be particularly effective. So, a simple quote, but a good one in my opinion. Okay, our last quote in this series for our why. If you aim at nothing, you will hit it every time. And that was said by Zig Ziglar. This is a good one. I mean, you can have ideas or dreams or wishes or even goals in mind, but if you're approaching it without being strategic, you just won't be as effective as you could be. If we want to get skilled at setting and achieving goals, then it is crucial to actually be aiming, to be setting those goals. Again, simple quote here, but super powerful. All right, those are our quotes for today. So next, let's do a quick recap of the basic goal setting types. So our 4 basic types of goals are 1. New Year's resolutions, 2. Focus words, 3. Time frame goals, and 4. Habit goals. Let's briefly go through these again, and I'll remind you if each one is an Alicia approved goal type or not. Okay, New Year's resolutions. Again, refer to part 1 of this series for the full explanation of the basic goal setting types. It's linked in the description below. The short answer here, though, is that I don't like New Year's resolutions in the way they're traditionally done because they seem more like wishful thinking than actual goal setting. I think that New Year's resolutions don't really call us into action for making solid strategic plans, or at least not in our society. And as I've said before, I just don't think a year-long resolution is the best way to tackle a goal that you seriously want to accomplish. As always, if you are the kind of person who sets New Year's resolutions and you achieve what you set out to, then go you and keep doing what works. But generally, I just don't think that New Year's resolutions are a good way to go. And as such, this goal setting type is not Alicia approved. Now, onto a quick recap of focus words. Picking a focus word is something that people do at the beginning of a new year. It's a word that's picked to focus a person on what he or she wants to be about in the next year. As I've said before, I think that focus words sound so lovely on paper. However, there are just some things that I don't like about them. First is that when I hear people talk about focus words, I also don't hear people talk about making plans for how this word is going to show up in their lives. Also, I don't like that focus words are set for a whole year. That's a really long time, and a lot can change. I just don't think that this is the best way to approach goal setting, especially without a specific action plan. So, focus words are not Alicia approved, but I know lots of people enjoy them, and if they work for you, then please keep using them. We just won't be diving into focus words any further in this series. Okay, we'll continue with our topic in just a moment, but before we get back to it, if you haven't already, would you please hit that subscribe button? As I like to say, you subscribing is kind of like the gasoline for my channel. It keeps things running around here. So please help keep this puppy running and subscribe. Okay, back to it. So, our next goal setting type is time frame goals. These are goals that we set with the intention of completing them in a certain amount of time, maybe within a quarter or a month or a certain number of weeks. I think that time frame goals work well when implemented well. And, as you can probably guess, time frame goals are an Alicia approved goal setting type. And our last goal setting type, habit goals. As I've previously said, habit goals are interesting, and I say that because they're something that we seek to accomplish without a clear-cut end, which is because it's a habit and something that we want to incorporate ongoingly into our lives. So habit goals are complete, really, when the habit has become second nature, as in you do the habit routinely without thinking about it much, it's on autopilot. Habit goals are also an Alicia-approved type of goal setting. And let's take just a minute here to briefly talk about step 0. Again, this was covered in more detail in part 1, but in short, step 0 is the essential prerequisite step in all of this goal setting and planning and such. And without it, we'll just stay stuck in overwhelm or frustration or whatnot. So this essential step 0 is getting crystal clear on our current personal life season. I created a 2-hour on-demand workshop to work you through getting this season clarity. It's called the Sync Your Season Workshop. I've linked it for you in the description below to go check out. But again, in my own journey of what works when it comes to goal setting, planning, productivity, etc., the way to be effective and to ditch things like overwhelm is to first get really clear on our season. Okay, so now that we've recapped goal setting types and briefly talked about step 0, let's take a look at the final 2 of my 8 best goal setting strategies that I have for you here. So the first one I have for you, make sure you have the right attitude. This may sound simple, but if we skip this step and aren't aware of it, then we can find ourselves in goal setting trouble. Just check yourself. Are you really wanting to take on this goal? Are you ready? Are you doing it because you feel like you have to or you should? Are you doing it because your friend is doing it? Are you doing it because everyone else is doing it? So just be mindful of your attitude to make sure that your head is in the most productive space possible for taking on going after a goal. And our last strategy, baby steps. After we set a goal, it's important to take it one step further and break it into baby steps, or mini steps, or action steps, or whatever you prefer to call it. Have you heard someone say before, what's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So that's what we're going for here. We can accomplish big stuff, big goals, when we break them down into bite-sized, super small baby steps. Sometimes, maybe, even baby steps that are so tiny that you practically can't not take action on your goal. Now, in part 3, I told you that we'd get more into baby steps in part 4, which we're doing right now. And I also told you that I'd tell you about my own spin on SMART goal setting, which I call stamp goals. So let's dive into that more now. Okay, so stamp goals. As I mentioned, this is my own take and what I think is an improvement on SMART goals. SMART goals are great, very valuable. And at the same time, I have felt that there were a couple missing pieces to SMART goals. So I created STAMP goals. Let's take a look. So we have specific, trackable, attitude, mini steps or micro steps, and pick times. Specific is just like SMART goals. Trackable is that in addition to having our goals be measurable like in SMART goals, I also want us to make sure that we have some way that we're tracking our goals and our progress. Then attitude. This is just like I mentioned a couple of slides back, that we need to make sure that we come to the table ready and willing and with the right attitude to take on our goal. Then mini steps or micro steps if that's what's needed, which we'll get into with some examples, but it's this idea of baby steps and breaking things down. And then pick times, which is in two ways. First, as in SMART goals, pick some time period in which you're going to accomplish this goal, but then also pick when you're going to take on this goal. This week, middle of this month, next quarter, like that. Just to help explain this further, let's take a look at an example now. So this is one of our two examples from, back from part 3. So let's just revisit it again here, just to keep things easy. We took the original goal and turned it into a SMART goal, but now let's turn it into a STAMP goal. Okay, so our STAMP goal. I will declutter and reorganize in storage tubs the contents of the 2 wire shelves in the garage within 4 weeks, starting the 1st of May. I will track my progress with this goal on the kitchen whiteboard. So the S for specific. We're good here still. Declutter, reorganize, storage tubs, 2 wire shelves. But now the T, trackable. Is it trackable? So just with the original SMART goal, we will be measuring that we either reorganized the 2 wire shelves or we did it. But now we've also added where we will be tracking this goal to make sure we're following along with the progress we're making. Now, A for attitude, this is kind of like a built-in safety check. As you're writing your goal, are you good? Attitude in the clear? Cool, move on. Or if not, then scrap the goal and maybe come back to it another time. Next, M for mini steps or micro steps. If we were working through this fully, then we'd have space underneath the STAMP goal on a worksheet where we'd break it into steps. I'll start to give you an example of this on the next slide. And finally, P for pick times, which has 2 pieces to it. And yep, we're covered for both pieces. We'll complete it within 4 weeks and we'll get started on it on May 1st. So hopefully this helps show how STAMP goals work. They're similar to SMART goals, but as I mentioned before, I feel that they're an improvement on the process and include a few more essential components for setting goals well. So now, I mentioned that we would do an example with the mini step, so let's get to that now. So, our mini steps for this STAMP goal might be something like 1. Remove items from 2 wire shelves. 2. Find and discard any items that are trash. 3. Find and move any items that belong elsewhere. 4. Create a donate box. 5. Find and put into the donate box any items that will be donated. And so on. And really, these mini steps here are a good start, but then the rest of the mini steps will really be dependent on what is in this person's pile of stuff that needs to be gone through and reorganized. But I think you get the idea here of how we break a goal into mini steps, and hopefully you can also see how in doing so, we're making the goal super clear for the steps we need to take. And also we're making it much easier because we can just take on one little step at a time, or if that feels too big, break the mini steps down even further into micro steps. The idea here is that you could do one step in a short period of time, and that by doing this over the course of a week or a month or whatever, that this will add up and you will knock this goal off your list. The mini steps or the micro steps should allow you to progress pretty easily and very doably and allow you to feel accomplished all along the way. Personally, with currently caring for 2 young kids myself, mini steps or micro steps are really the only way I get any goals accomplished a lot of the time. But wouldn't you know it, I actually get a lot accomplished by tackling goals this way, even with 2 little kids at home. It's largely thanks to breaking my goals into mini steps. Okay, that's it for today. Now, before we go, I just wanted to tell you again that the link for my Sync Your Season workshop is in the description below. Again, it's that step 0 to really being able to take your goal setting, your planning, your peace, or just your life in general to the next level. Go check it out and see what you think. As always, thanks so much for spending this time with me. That completely wraps up our series here. Be on the lookout for more videos on intentional planning and productivity coming your way soon. I put out a new video each week. And my imparting encouragement, as always, if you are feeling overwhelmed today, remember that when it comes to planning and productivity, being intentional plus not giving up means that you are going to get there. Catch you next time. Take good care.